The concept of the Mahdi in Islamic groups and throughout history. There are many people who have claimed to be the Mahdi throughout history. Some of these people have claimed to be from within the fold of Ahl Sunnah, and others have been from other groups. Now obviously anybody who claimed to be a Mahdi and was not so, he immediately becomes a deviant for that belief. So when I say that he was from Ahl Sunnah, I mean that he came from a theology of Sunni Islam and then he claimed to be the Mahdi. And obviously when a person does so, then he falls into a type of deviation from that very claim of his, unless he really be the Mahdi. And as we said, other claimants to the Mahdi have been found in other groups and sects as well. And even others have gone to the extreme of forming new and different religions. So let us discuss some of these claimants of the Mahdi-ship, if you like. And let us also see what other groups and other sects says about the concept of the Mahdi. First and foremost, let's discuss the concept of the Mahdi within Sunni Islam, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I have summarized for you in the preceding talks what the signs are, and the authentic signs only, of the Mahdi, that he shall be from the descendants of the Prophet ﷺ, of the children of Fatima, most likely from the descendants of Al-Hassan and not Al-Hussein. Likewise, he shall come at a time when the earth is full of injustice and tyranny, and that he shall fill it with justice and with righteousness, and that he shall be a person who is not that practicing, and Allah will guide him overnight and he'll become a better person. He shall flee from Mecca to Medina seeking refuge in the Kaaba, and he shall be given the oath of allegiance between the Rukn and the Maqam, and an army shall come to attack him, and Allah will destroy the entire army. Another army will march from Khurasan or from the lands of the east, and their banner shall be the black flag. And when they come, that is the final key, that this indeed is the Mahdi, and the Muslims will be obliged to give allegiance to the Mahdi at that time. And then from then on, he will go and he will start reconquering some of the lands of the Muslims. As for Jerusalem, we do not know, because the hadith is weak, so it could be true, it could not be true, we don't know. Constantinople, pretty certain that the Mahdi will be there and help the Muslims or lead the Muslims to conquer Constantinople. And the Prophet ﷺ said, when he is fighting another expedition, so he is now going out and conquering and filling the earth with justice, Isa ibn Maryam will come down. So these are some of the signs of the Mahdi that have been reported in the authentic literature of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And over 30 ahadith have been narrated about the Mahdi, many of them explicitly mentioning his name, and the rest directly or indirectly referring to him. So there are over 30 authentic ahadith about the Mahdi in Sunni literature, and I have mentioned most of them in the course of my talks. However, some of the early scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it is narrated that they denied the concept of the Mahdi. And of the people that this opinion is reported from is the famous Mufassir Mujahid ibn Jabr and also Al-Hasan al-Basri. However, both of these narrations are not authentic to them. In other words, they did not really say so. If you look at the isnads of these narrations, it is not true. So those people who claim that Mujahid and Al-Hasan denied the concept of the Mahdi, this is simply not true. It is basically claimed that they said that the Mahdi is Isa ibn Maryam. There is no Mahdi other than Isa. So they're saying Isa and the Mahdi are the same individual. Firstly, as we said, this is not authentically ascribed to them. And secondly, there is indeed a narration from the Prophet ﷺ in which it says, La Mahdiya illa Isa ibn Maryam. There is no Mahdi other than Isa ibn Maryam. But this narration is extremely weak and therefore cannot be relied upon. And of course, it contradicts all of the other authentic narrations about the Mahdi. So it is certainly true to state that the vast majority of scholars of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, past and present, affirm the concept of a Mahdi, and we'll have the opportunity to actually quote some of them later on in the course of these lectures. Because the personality of the Mahdi was believed in and propagated by the scholars, many people throughout history claimed this title and tried to misuse and abuse this concept to further their political agendas. And of the first claimants of the concept of Mahdi, of the Mahdi-ship if you like, was a person by the name of Al-Harith ibn Surayj. And he was an insurgent against the Umayyad dynasty. He claimed that he was fighting for justice and took as his banner a black flag. And he actually lived in the lands of Khurasan of Transoxania. And so he felt that by doing all of this, he could pretend to be the Mahdi. However, not only did his name not match the name of the Mahdi, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, his name was Al-Harith ibn Surayj. His actions and tactics were nothing short of heresy. Of what has been narrated about him is that he took shelter with a neighboring pagan empire, the Khan, al-Khan, who was his title, of the Turkmenistans. And he helped these mushrikun fight against the Muslims. And look at what extremism does. In his claim that he was fighting against the Umayyads and the evils of the Umayyads, he defected and he went over to the mushrikun, to the kuffar, to the non-Muslims. And he thought that by attacking the Muslim lands, killing Muslim men, women, and children, with the help of the non-Muslims, he would establish justice. What a perverted logic there is. And he stayed in the lands of the mushrikun for over 12 years, helping them, physically helping them in fighting the Muslims, thinking that he's spreading justice. One of the interesting things about this man was that he had enlisted the help of al-Jahm ibn Safwan. And Jahm ibn Safwan is one of the most notorious zindiqs, heretics, in the history of Islam. It was al-Jahm ibn Safwan who was the first person, basically, him and his Sheikh Ja'ad ibn Dirham, who denied Allah's names and attributes. And from him, all of the other groups who delved into these issues, such as the Mu'tazila, and then the two groups of the people of Kalam that came after them, and these two groups are still existent to this day. It was because and through his teachings that these groups spread. And it was Jahm who first and foremost introduced principles of Greek philosophy into our Islamic theology. And because of this, Muslims to this day have many deviant beliefs. And so this is why Al-Harith ibn Surayj's rebellion is very interesting, in that someone as deviant as al-Jahm ibn Safwan used to support him and would actually be his secretary. Jahm ibn Safwan was the secretary of Al-Harith ibn Surayj. Al-Harith ibn Surayj was finally killed in a battle with another rebel group in the year 128 AH, and with his death, his movement came to an end. And of the people whom others thought might be the Mahdi, although he himself never claimed this, was the Abbasid Khalifa, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the son of Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. His father was a famous Khalifa, Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. His name was Abdullah. And so he named his son Muhammad, hoping that Muhammad ibn Abdullah, his son, would become the Mahdi. And not just that, he actually gave him the title Al-Mahdi. So the title that he was known as was Al-Mahdi. And he hoped that this person or his son would eventually become the Mahdi. He did become the Khalifa, and he ruled the Muslims from 158 Hijrah to 169. And overall, he did much good during his time, but obviously he was not the actual promised Mahdi. And in fact, as we said, it is not even reported that he himself claimed to be the Mahdi. And of course, of the claimants of Mahdi-ship in recent times was Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Qahtani, a young and religious youth from Medina, who began having dreams and visions in which he saw that he was the Mahdi. And what added to this belief was the fact that many people around him began giving him such indications. In particular, an overzealous and fanatical preacher by the name of Juhayman ibn Muhammad ibn Sayf al-Uthaymi. In fact, this person, Juhayman, even married his sister to Muhammad and began brainwashing him and those around him that he was indeed the promised Mahdi. His movement spread, especially amongst disenfranchised youth who were extremely critical of the new change in lifestyle that was spreading in Saudi Arabia at the time. And we're talking about the mid to late 1970s. And the fact of the matter is that most of the followers of this group, of the group of Juhayman and the supposed Mahdi, really and truly believed him to be the Mahdi. Now obviously this incident occurred very recently. It occurred in 1979, in the year 1400 of the Hijrah. And so many people who witnessed these events firsthand and who interacted with Juhayman and the Mahdi, they are still alive. And of course, these incidents occurred in Mecca and Medina. And on a personal note, I myself have met numerous people who were alive and interacted with this group and are now obviously in their 50s, 60s, 70s. And I have discussed with them many of the incidents that occurred out of an interest and curiosity as to what happened at this time. And his da'wah, the da'wah of Juhayman, was spreading in the late 70s. And although all of the actual followers of Juhayman who took part in the rebellion in the Haram, they were either killed before the Haram was taken over in the process of the gun battle, or the 61 that were caught, they were executed right afterwards. So we don't really have any real followers of this supposed Mahdi alive anymore because they were all executed. Either they died in the battle or they were killed. However, many of the people and the scholars of Mecca and Medina who were present at that time, they knew about these people and they interacted with them. And it is very, very interesting to discuss with them some of what occurred. And it is very relevant as well, because really and truly, what became apparent to me after talking to so many people was that It was a time of great confusion and chaos.